Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Hello there, Bravehearts, Urbanites, and Coach Mad Hatters. And welcome to my Bitches Brew segment. I wasn't sure if I was going to do this. And I think I'm going to go ahead and disclose right now. I honestly don't give a fuck if you stay or not. I'm in that kind of energy. So for the last 4 or 5 years, August has been what I like to dedicate my Four of Swords energy, which means it's rest and relaxation. It's when I really chime into being present and paying my meditation forward in the month of August. I am usually semi silent because being in urban spaces, you can't go full blown, you can't go into a full blown silent retreat um, and be talking to folks through writing pads and stuff because the speed of life doesn't work like that. So I usually go into a soft solitude, meaning that I only speak when necessary. And for, I want to say, about 90% of the month of August, I'm doing more listening and gathering than I am speaking and expending. So I toggled for a while in my decision of if I was going to record and share my time and space. But you see which way it's going if you're listening to this. I honor, as a person as well as an intuitive coach professional, I honor as well as a consultant of astrological archetypes with regards to intuitive study and Timetnos, the journey to know thyself. And that's usually what I am offering in those types of spaces, right? So, to become more in tune with the journey so that I may meet people where they are when they engage in conversation with me, I take these journeys myself. And not all of them are easy. I am the student most often than I am the teacher. Even when in conversation, unless I have my quote unquote Coach Mad Hattery hat on, I'm usually a fellow scholar that is walking alongside whomever I am engaging. And because I am who I am, I like to hold hands. And that's energetically hold hands. I like to be that comforter, that confidant, that one that you honestly can lean on. You can lean on my shoulder and you can cry. I save space for stuff like that. Crying is not as wretched as the popular opinion would lead us to be. It's refreshing. It's the ability to purge certain energies that have stayed its course. It's now time to release. Whether we are releasing with tears or releasing agony, whatever have you. I haven't met a human yet that did not feel a sense of release immediately upon crying. And it's really weird for me right now because I am still contemplating, I'm still in source contemplation around the series Mr. Romantic and just being the observer of certain masculine archetypes and what they are willing to be transparent and honest about, what it is that encourages them to be affectionate, and most often, them being able to distinguish their private life versus their public life. And what, in my opinion, feels like it went wrong is when our divine masculines were not able to be affectionate within their private life. Now, yeah, they got to be all hard and rambunctious and unruly in their public life, meaning that which the outer limits of their existence view them. But when they come home, when they step inside the portal of the heart chakra, where their loved ones are waiting for them, honestly, it ought to be no malice in the fucking palace. The warrior ought to have a garden where he can meditate and be able to release and commune with this realm's most raw, naturalistic senses. Like it. Let me slow down because this is not the Mr. Romantic series. I am not in that energy. I am in the bitches brew energy. And so, as I've may mentioned before, this is my Bobby Hemmett season. This is usually the season where I tap into all of the lectures, whatever my intuitive nature says, go check out this, go revisit this. Usually, I am going over those lectures like one of my favorite movies. So I'm tapping in on a more higher frequency than usually throughout the year. And one of the things that Bobby fine tunes on any occasion is how the woman views herself and in all of the different hues that she may find herself. And that the best thing, and this is for male and female, but hey, we in the bitches brew segment, that the way she views herself when she suspends judgment. So connecting these two, as I've said, I've been honoring the energetic thrust over the threshold of the Lion's Gate, which is this core energy is August 8th through August 12th. That's when that's the eye of the presence of this particular energy. So while studying archetypal natures with regards to astrology, especially when we're dealing with the participatory energies of planetary infusion or starlight alignment or whatever the energy within the transits and conjunctions and however it takes place above or below, we are able to feel it, whether it's the pull from above or it's the push from below, or vice versa. I get that mixed up sometimes. But remember, we're in Middle Earth. And this is the omni narrative that I've signed on to. I don't expect you to agree. And I'm not even going to feel some way if you don't. I hold the safe space for me to discover it as I am discovering it. I'm never going to get up here and claim that I know, which means you ought to agree. Man, fuck that. I am sharing in my most transparent and tender stance. Because honestly, if I had it my way, I would probably still be in sanctioned solitude, absorbing instead of releasing. But I know when my intuitive hit demands me to do something in a specific synchronicity that's greater than me, that I will never be able to comprehend where this message is going to make its moves once I release it. And I have to be obedient in that. And so here we are. So I say to you, welcome. And I also would like to extend, if you are not familiar with Bobby Hemmett as a legendary lecturer inside the non-physical spaces. And that's what I wish to hone in on in this session. Our awareness and our intentions to participate with the energies that we can sense in conjunction with all the people, places, and things that we can see and touch. The balance between the physical realm and the non-physical realm without being lopsided in one direction or the other. The meridian where the left brain and the right brain meets. That love affair between the logical and the intuitive. And just toggling, like just tangoing right on the threshold of either side. And allow some beautiful blends to take place. Allow them to emerge inside of your psyche without judging it. Allow it to incubate and grow before you would like to manhandle it or woman handle it. I just like the word manhandle. Before you begin forcing it into some shape or conceptive contouring. So before I get too far ahead, I would like to take this moment to thank you for being here, as well as ask you if you find delight in my discoveries and it resonates to the point where you gain something for it, please give it a thumbs up. In the beginning of my journey on YouTube, I wasn't really concerned with whomever kissed it or dissed it. And I've never been shy about rendering the understanding of why I keep the comments off. And it's really weird. It's such oxymoronish of me because I love to go on other people's pages and comment and be excited about the stuff that they be sharing. And like, yeah, I pull from. Whenever I sit in front of someone's video or someone's segment, I am in front of pencil and paper, pen and paper. I honestly allow the message to send me where my intuition tells me I ought to go as a result of spending time with whatever it is that the particular people are speaking about. And sometimes it gets misconstrued because I don't hold back on my excitement about knowledge. When knowledge hits me, it's like, what's the song? When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's more. Yeah. That's the way I feel when I come into knowledge that like permeates my whole senses. And most often it's a missing puzzle piece. If I get real excited about whatever somebody's talking about, it's because it's a missing puzzle piece. It's one that I've been waiting on, like the gap in my bigger picture. Like, yeah, yeah, I'm with you. I'm right there with you. So I have now come into agreement that the portions of constructive rating is semi-important. It's not like the grandstand, because the grandstand is something I'll never be able to engage, and that is knowing that the divine is putting my messages in front of those that need to hear it so that they can take from it and piece in certain missing pieces of their bigger picture. And so I'm just gaining comfort and understanding that if I never record or upload, then my part will never be contributed. And so that's what we're here for. We're here because Bobby said something to me about the evolution of the term bitch. So the bitches of the dog star. And right at this moment, because all of the lectures seem to be quilting themselves together inside of my psyche, I can't really pull and tell you what title it is, but I've already put in the intention for my intuition to guide me there, so that I can provide the link in the notes of this session. I also want to, before we tap into this portal, put in front of your mind sight the need for story sponsors. So once we enter the threshold into the autumn season, I am going to be gathering with a handful of individuals who have been toggling with the courtship of narrative. Those that have been gaining the value of journaling as they are on a intellectual and emotional cycle, inside of a intellectual and emotional cycle, all for the sake of maturing inside of their individuation process. So Carl Gustav Jung, there is an entire philosophy around Jung's dynasty in psychotherapeutic realms. And so he's the Swiss psychologist. That's what he's best known. They always seem to start his description off as the Swiss psychologist. 19th century, early 20th century, I want to say. And so he was neck and neck with Sigmund Freud. Most of the popular opinions will quote Sigmund Freud because he was more mainstream. But I have found that I lean more into the Jungian lens. And then once I took my MBTI assessment, my Myers-Briggs type indicator assessment, I found out that me and Carl Gustav, I love his name, we share the same MBTI type. Now, of course, I am urban with a 21st century twist, and I am a concentrated, melanated, divine feminine. Talk about a mouthful. We have varying prescriptions by which we view the world, but the core essence, I get it. I truly understand certain messages around what's going on. Just like I subscribe to the monomyth of Joseph Campbell, and I am a incredibly intrigued fan of J.K. Rowling's and J.R.R. Tolkien. So I speak in fantastical terms. The never ending story can be truly my mantra of existence if I had to associate my life with a book. I like rock with that storyline energetically, which means beyond embodiment, which means once I leave this realm and exit out of my body, it will be logged into my invisible library, aka the recordings of my contribution to the Akashic Records. It will be looped in the essence, structured like the never ending story. I ascribe to the notion that the third dimension is a physical, matter of fact type of realm, and that while beings are in their non physical celestial form, they, and I'm not even going to speak it on outside of me, I'm going to tell you how I feel about me. I ascribe to the notions and the sentiments that in my celestial form with each cycle of life through the zodiac. So, with me being a Capricorn sun, it tells me I've already been here 9 lifetimes prior to. So, being a Capricorn in the essence of life cycle, in between life cycles, meaning my last life cycle I was a Sagittarius, and then this life cycle I'm a Capricorn. Next life cycle I'll be an Aquarius, and the next life cycle I'll be a Pisces, and then my century series of lifetimes will conclude, and that's when I'll decide if I'm going to come back to this realm, if in fact there is a realm. I sometimes get the notion that this realm is going to implode on itself energetically first, and then it's going to permeate into the physical spaces. But that's just me and how my mind works. The type of person that I am. Shout out to Yasin Bey. I love him. But because of the type of person I am, that's the lens by which I view. So all of that to say that my journey back into the third dimension as a Capricorn sun, highly melanated divine feminine, things shift inside of my intuitive spaces, almost like the speed of light. I feel one way today and feel something totally different yesterday, and maybe something totally different tomorrow. It all depends on the way the moon engages with me. So once I heard Bobby talk about give backdrop, give context, give sacred context to the term bitch and where it comes from, I started honing in on the intention to to pay close attention when I hear it, how I hear it, and from whom I'm hearing it. Because with everything else in this realm, a lot of intelligence as well as ignorance, willfully or not, can surround the context and the content of any given person, place, or thing. And being in tune to how I honestly feel about things is what's going to help me maneuver at a better quality. So, when I first heard it, it hit me. Of course, I do how I always do. I holler. I was like, oh, yeah. All right, Bobby, we on to something. So started writing down shit like the channeling and all of yeah, it was just like it just like it click, it like clicked it. I'm like, oh shit, okay, yeah, let's do this. So I'm writing down notes in my journal, right? So me doing that, it kept me in line because I refer to my journaling. I have a courtship with my journal. Like for real, we date. Like we go on dates. We go and we sit in the park. We go in the train station, watch all the people. Yeah, I love to people watch. So like we go and me and my journal, we hang out. We hang out. And I've just entered into a threesome with poetry. So yeah, we've been doing some really delightful stuff. And I know I'm getting off task, but just hold on. It's a bit of a roller coaster because this brew is vast. It's whimsical and it's weird and it's full of it's wacky. It's full of all sorts of things that I can't readily put into words. So just hold on, buckle up. Oh, and let me just say, I've gathered the energy to do a transcript just in case my rambling does not catch all of it. I mean, for real, honestly, without any shade, I would say go tap into the transcript if you don't necessarily want to hear me ramble on. And I am going to slow down real quick. Story sponsors are needed come the brink of autumn 2020. Those that are mustering up the courage to become one with their journal, to write love letters, to be in front with their true expression, offering up for the gratification of others so that others will know and heal and reconcile on a more collective community basis, sometimes require certain utensils and products and supports and services that they cannot afford. So, to become one story sponsor does not necessarily mean you have to do anything in particular, but it also means you have the vast opportunity to do a lot of particulars, meaning forward them journals, forward them writing utensils, forward them dictionaries, forward them book bags, messenger bags, forward them some of the materials that they will need to tell their story. Allow them the safe space to unleash some stuff, to unhash some stuff, to contend with some stuff, to figure some shit out. And it doesn't mean that you have to offer them up anything in words. You could just be there and be real present and emotionally investing in where they are right now with their story. Because when I say it's easier said than done, man, it took me 10 years to reconcile my story. 10 fucking years. And that meant reconciling my past while my present was still moving forward. No time waits for no one. And so I came up with the story sponsorship, especially for those that are on soul scholarship journeys. Because to face yourself when no one else has clues into what's really going on with you, that's hard. It's hard to have to deal with you, understand you, when everybody's viewing you and speaking about you without you. All of that lurking in the shadows, showing up, trying to pop in little innuendos and that type of shit. Like, it is uncanny what an individual has to go through just to maintain space in this realm. The vet and validating elective of the third dimension is so fucked up right now, where I am opting to clean slates and say that I'm going to deal with you on the level that you deal with me. I really don't give a fuck what nobody else has to say about you. How me and you rock is what's important to me, because there are stories to be told, and there's a preponderance of evidence readily available for whomever seeks it of how narratives have been so twisted and maneuvered and pretzeled out of context that I honestly believe that that's at least 45% of the fuckery that's going on out here. So, as India Ari says, you'll know the truth by the way that it feels. We are in a new resonance. And I'm not going to waste my time judging you about your shit. Because trust and believe you're going to be wasting life trying to judge me on mine. We all came here for certain shit. We came here to make mistakes. We came here to discover. We came here to be the bad guy as well as the good guy. Or the bad girl or the good girl. All of it is utilizable. Especially when we're talking about unique individuations, unique travels, intellectually and emotionally, which, by the way, I am coining it to be the IQ EQ exchange, meaning that we are not leaning more into logic or into intuition, aka emotions. We're going to toggle that thing. Surfboard, surfboard. Yeah, we surfing Mavericks now. We are going to include the emotions. We're not going to lodge them out anymore. We're going to take an all-inclusive approach to logical, and emotional. That's where the true alchemist comes in, because you cannot transmute into anything if you don't have all of the fundamental components. And you have to be able to analyze as well as whatever. What the fuck ever, man. Okay, so the Lion's Gate, August 8th. Intuitively, energetically, with full intention, step into a portal of unknown. But inside the unknown, it is said that if you go with the willingness to discover, especially discover something about yourself, that it is there waiting on you. Most often, there are gaps in our self discovery because we aren't willing to tap into certain unknowns, fearing that what's waiting on us is going to destroy us. And it's amazing because it feels like on the surface, the Coach Mad Hatter, or just the Mad Hatter in its traditional sense, can be such an intimidating presence. But when you lose the fear and you sit at the table with the Mad Hatter, you literally walk away with gems that you couldn't have gotten from anywhere else. Like that significance of Mad Hattery is what gives you like those golden nuggets from the darkness, plucked right out of the cave's wall, right out of the fucking muck. So if you're interested in becoming a story sponsor, like tap in and find out more about what that's about. If you're interested in going on the journey with me to become closer to not only your intuitive doors, but to have a tour guide while you journal. Now, please understand this. I'm journaling and I am traveling too. So I'm not your therapist. I am not going to sit and tell you what's right or wrong with you. When you have moments where you may need some encouragement around you journaling, I can't even tell you what to journal. That's what your intuitive body is for. It tells you, look here, tap into here, talk to this person, don't talk to this person, read this, view this, go back and reread this, go back and re-sit with them. Like, and take this while you go sit with them, like that kind of thing. It's going to like talk you through your travels. I am here to energetically hold your hand so that you don't lose sight of what you're traveling for. And hopefully the blessing circles back where when you do discover, you don't have to disclose everything, but to at least circle back and say, hey, yeah, your Mad Hattery wasn't all that mad. It literally sent me over here, and it had me write this down. And so we're on this journey of discovery. And one thing that Carl Gustav was known for is that he would go and take these lonely travels into retrospect, into reflection, into reconciliation, the whole gamut being considered the individuation process. He served as his teacher and his student. He served as his analyzer, his therapist. He served as that for himself. He took a mound of notes and then he compiled and he processed and compiled, and then he reset his cycle and he took others with him, and then they journeyed and they did, and not particularly did exactly what he did, but they still followed the trajectory. And by the time it was time for them to reset, then they took folks with them as they reset and journeyed along. And so that to me is the rippling effect of the collective, because everybody's not going to turn on all at once. And it's something that very specific that Dr. Joy DeGruy, which she is part of the referencing inside the transcript, where if you don't already have the book Post Traumatic Slave Syndrome, America's Legacy of Enduring Injury and Healing, I suggest you get it. Get your hands on it. Get a hard copy of it. And I'm also going to say, because I know some people love to be sassy with their shit and be like, well, Coach, do you have all the books that you have on reference for us to? No, I don't. I don't. But I've tapped into either the author's story, whatever it is that I can get my hands on, surrounding around the context that's housed inside of some of them. So, whatever I offer you, I've already been studying it for a while. If it's on the list, trust and believe one or two things is happening. Either I have it and I'm living by it and I'm tapping into it frequently, or I'm on my way to get it. It's inside of my radar. I honestly will not suggest anything that I am unfamiliar with unless I disclose to you I would like for us to walk the journey together, where the ahas can be synchronized and succinct. So, inside of Dr. Joy's post traumatic slave syndrome, we're going to tap into chapter one. And let's see, when did I first get this book? September 25th, 2017. So I'm coming up on my 3-year anniversary of having this particular hard copy in my hands. And I know I've shown this copy on a few of my visual recordings because most often it acts as my urban Bible, if you will. And not that it's speaking in any context of religiosity, but it does have a lot of ancient reference. It has a lot of intellectual and emotional reference that help reconcile certain things. And the lens by which Dr. Joy will refer to things latches on to not only my intellectual senses, but my emotional senses. So chapter one is pages 18 through 45. Yeah, pages 18 through 45. And on page 43, she says, treating relationships as preeminent, attuning ourselves to temporal rhythms, emphasizing learning through subjective barometers and symbolic imagery. These are at the core of African American culture. We feel them, know them to be true. Our mission is to integrate them and learn how to use them to our advantage in the world in which we find ourselves. And a few lines down. Difficulties can arise, however, when objective means are used as a primary method of understanding people. And that's one of the reasons why right in the beginning of the transcript, well, right over the threshold of the transcript on page 2, I subtitle When the Quest Leads Us to Wander. And the leading quote is, I am not interested in getting to know them through your point of view. I'll be getting to know them through their points of view. We honestly cannot believe no longer that the remedy of what we are now dealing with will emerge somehow through the already existing fuckery. There has to be some shifts in paradigms, and they are. Trust me. I'm no longer privy to speaking in futuristic terms. We are in the future. And things are blending and blossoming on a level that I could have never predicted. And for that, I am utterly grateful. So, I think I'm going to end it here because it just in this little 40 minutes, I almost forgot that I am in soft solitude. I am in Four of Swords energy. I packed the transcript full of references and things for you to begin to tap into. And I did that on purpose, mainly because those that are meant to travel this journey already know it's not going to be easy, and they already know that they have to actively participate in whatever it is that they come across so that it may engage properly. So I'm not here to do your work for you. I have my own fucking work to do. But I am into sharing, and I am into being an advocate or the ambassador of the safe spaces for you to discover and process and absorb and implement. And one of the more harder things that I'm finding that even with those within my inner circle is that we still care very much about what somebody else has to say about us. And on the flip side of that is that we still put a lot of stock into believing what someone else says about somebody versus what they say about themselves. As if people are not changing on a millisecond ratio. They are bumping into new stuff that evolves them by the second. The energy promised that. The energy promised that it did not come into this realm to play. That's what all the historical affects is all about. The artifacts that are emerging right now are being met with this ultra omnipresent type of energy. This new and infused type of energy. This never before in history type of energy. 2020 done already, yeah. It has already told us. We want you to write about, listen, and that's one thing that's also in the transcript. 2020 has come and it says, I'm not like anything ever you've ever met. So what you ought to be doing is observing me, taking document, taking record, and really truly hashing out how you honestly, authentically feel about things, because that is what's going up into the Akashic records, which will remain there beyond time. And so I came here to divinely disrupt. I came here to shake you up out of your senses so that you could write from another life, so that you could record from another life, so that you could, when you go into co op, the documentation will be new, it'll be innovative, it'll be ingenuitive. Why? Because any time after that, we'll be using this as a reference to go by. So, for that, thank you for hanging with me while I ramble inside of my bitches brew. Um, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of energies at play, and they are brewing and they're blending. And so I'm hoping that we do. We take stock. We become stockholders in this new energy and allow it to do what it do. And with that said, I give thanks to you and I wish you well.